get full babies in this head.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll call the meeting go to order. First item on the agenda is pledge of allegiance. If you're all right, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call tonight, Mr. Bowman is not present. Next item on the agenda is considering the minutes from Commissioner Holt. Make the motion, we accept the minutes. Motion is made, second by Dave, all in favor? Thank you. First item on business tonight is Mr. Snowden's budget, school budget, for final vote. Mr. Boyd Snowden, do you have anything else you'd like to present?
So just wanna, because the first, couple items there are kind of tied together. I don't know if anybody has had any questions now that as far as the budget expenses. Since we last met, if not, I'll move kind of right into kind of, one of this one right here. Yeah, that right there. So one of the things that, I regretted not doing at the last meeting was talking about what that 5% increase meant. So I tried to break that down, looked at the consumption for all the residential customers that I could see on our billing sheets. Kelly's provided that for me. And the average, residential customer is about 11 units usage in a quarter. So that 5% right now is $5.25. So this will be a total for consumption fee, but they also get everybody gets a certain flat fee, businesses, residences, things like that. So the total cost for an average customer, residential customer, is about $107.75 a quarter, $431 a year. So with the 5% increase, you're basically looking at almost a $3 increase in the consumption, $2.50 increase. So it goes from, it would end up going from $107.75 to $113.11 a quarter, about $21 a year, for the typical residential, user using 11 units. Obviously, some people use less, some people use more, so, but that's an average. And yeah, so $5.36 over the ad. So we kind of wanted to just clarify that, just so, I mean, 5% is, 5% of what number? Obviously, that can be a fairly substantial number or maybe a little less impactful. So that's what we're looking at for the charge with the 5% rate increase. So I'd like to move into and kind of combine this and kind of go through what has happened on the project. It's all kind of tied together with the budget, as far as what the council wants to do. I did send an email. I'm not sure, Kelly, if you sent the council the email that kind of broke down the different options and things like that. This one right here. Oh, you can start there. So just wanted to also give you a project update. Lower Oak Street, as we talked about, was completed. We just had some additional costs. There was a sag in the old line, so I knew Fabian area, I knew the Legion was gonna be close because we were trying to get rid of that sag. We ended up having to run a little longer, a little further into Fabian's property to get gravity. And with the Legion Hall, we couldn't even get gravity because they were right, unfortunately, right at the worst part of the sag. So by the time we put our new pipe in, we were above the old pipe.
Masonic Hall.
Masonic Hall, what'd I say, Legion? I think I said that 3 times tonight. Yeah, so Masonic Hall. So basically what we had to do is we had to install a pump station there so that we could continue to serve them. So we did that as part of the project. My estimated final construction costs, all said and done, for Lower Oak, the sewer manhole replacements on Oak Street and Sawtell, of $735,000, so about $60,000 over budget. It also includes a full paving on Railroad Avenue. The water company came in a couple years ago, did a trench. We were doing our sewer, and there was literally 2 feet of pavement left, and things were just coming apart with them running the heavy equipment over it. So I made the call just to have them remove the pavement regrade it and just do a 2.5 inch layer of binder mix down on there. And it came out really nice. I think people that are on railroad with all the damage and everything they have really appreciate it. That was about 40,000 of that time I got all done that work. So, and that's kind of those items were what, increased the costs on the phase one. Phase two was always looking to go to South Alpine Street. I've been talking about that for years. It's a bad section of town. As far as really old clay pipe, has a lot of water infiltration in it, especially on these storms we're getting. So right now, as we said right now, with the original budget, we're looking at, if we do everything up until this point, or if we did everything up to that point, we're about $60,000 under what I originally had budgeted. What we found, and I've got some pictures to show the council and the public, we found some things on Sawtell Avenue when we were up there doing the work, and when we installed the next one right there, when we installed, so up on Sawtell, we replaced manholes. There's 5 manholes up there that were the old fiberglass manholes, and those things I've been trying to get those replaced for years. So it literally looked like a water fountain coming in, just water cascading in from all the water coming from Selden Lane, Deer Run. That's a really wet area, and it's all chases our pipe right down, and whenever it finds an opening, like in these fiberglass manholes, it would just pour in. 3 weeks ago, I think, they started replacing the manholes, on Sawtell, and I got a chance to see firsthand how much groundwater there was coming from Deer Run, Selden. And I think I've got a picture on the next slide down. So this is one of those fiberglass manholes. This is all groundwater, you see. It was literally, they started with a 10 by 10 hole, and everything was coming in so fast and caving in on them because of the groundwater. They ended up with like a 25 by 16 foot hole. It was, and they had a lot of trouble with it. So what's happening is all this groundwater, and it was coming in from all sides. So it wasn't like it was just chasing. I think Sawtell on the high side is pretty wet too. All that has been for years just dumping into these fiberglass, and anywhere it can, even chasing down the pipe, getting to Oak Street, and then chasing down Oak Street. So that was a few weeks ago. Then, we were putting in a manhole. This is on Oak Street. I forget which number this was. It was down below Sawtell. We replaced manholes above, the high school. Those were all pretty dry. They went in pretty easy, not a lot of groundwater, pretty easy tie-ins. Once we got to Sawtell and down, it was impressive, the water coming out. You can see, I don't know how well you can see, but this right here is, so what they did is when they put this manhole in, they have to make sure it's watertight. So they put a vacuum test on it. And when they plug that, literally it's for 2 minutes. It has to hold that vacuum for 2 minutes. They barely had it in there, and the water started coming out above the main. So it was backing up, whatever groundwater was chasing the old pipe or inside the pipe was backing up and dumping over the top of the clay. Which the only way that's gonna do that is if this pipe is compromised and allows that water to come up and out. So, that was a problem. So we started looking at that, and then I went back, I think there's another, okay. And I went back and looked at the camera. As soon as I saw that, they called me out there. Actually, Seneca was out there, and the contractor, the owner of the contractor said, you need to come out here and take a look at this. And actually, one of the instances, the groundwater, when they plugged it, was actually coming up around the newly installed manhole they had installed up near the gravel. So it had migrated up like 5 or 6 feet in the ground and was just kind of coming right out of what they had just backfilled. So I went back that night and started looking at, this is camera work that we had done. We do this as often as we can afford to do it. just to kind of, it's a way we can track our pipes and what's going on. So this is that section from, which is just down below Sawtell. It's probably about 300 feet down from the Sawtell Oak Street intersection, and it's about a 400-foot run. This is one where we, 2015, we had a backup in somebody's house where they had we had a major root issue. It plugged our pipe and it found its first source, which was one of the homes on Oak Street, just above the root ball. So we've been monitoring this with the SL rat that we do every year. And we've had to clean this pretty regularly. So it was on my list. It just, didn't realize how bad it was. So these are roots that all the big trees you see up on Oak Street, they just love our old sewer main. They just chase down the sewer main, find whatever weak spot they can, joints, services, wherever they can get in. And you start getting these coming into the main, why you have to clean them and things like that. Next slide, Kelly. This is the one we found in 2021, which was, this is basically all a tree root. There was a service connection right here and the roots had just come in around the service and just completely almost blocked our pipe entirely. It did, you can see some water is able to go out by here, but any type of increase in flow is gonna back it. So it's significant. One more. This is a section that is right below Sawtell. What you're seeing here is a broken pipe. That's a big rock sitting around top of the pipe. This is all clay pipe here, all the old clay pipe. Obviously, there's nothing to prevent groundwater to come in from there. So once I saw what was happening with the manholes, I went back and looked at a video. I went the next morning and talked to Callie and I said, I know I've been talking about South Alpine Street forever, but can't leave that line. I've got all that groundwater. I've seen it on Sawtell. We cleaned up Sawtell with the manholes. It's just gonna keep going in here and we're gonna get a collapse and I'm gonna be up there dealing with it at some point in an emergency situation. So kind of regrouped. We had, the contractor there. He gave us a price to do, Oak Street and we moved in that direction and you've probably seen him out there. He's been working on Oak Street. Obviously, I didn't plan to do Oak Street, but because of those conditions, because of what I saw in the field, I didn't feel like we had a choice. I felt like we had to put our money there. So what that leaves us with, if we can go back to that, go back to this. So what that leaves us with is a choice. So I asked him for two prices, knowing I was gonna be coming to the meeting tonight and we were talking about budget because it's all hard to get. We do have a couple other items. We've got another manhole that I've asked him to put in, which is down near between Corner Store and the housing complex. I can't think of the name of it. It's on the left as you're heading away from out of town. Because that's a really long run, so I wanted to install a manhole there to make it a little easier to clean and to maintain. And we've also got a box culvert, that's the old granite box culvert that was down near Fabian. And that one, so I had talked to DOT originally, before we even started construction. And I said, hey, I knew my sewer main goes right through that granite box culvert, it has for 100 years. So, and obviously we're putting it right back where it went, so it's still gonna be within the granite box culvert. So what I asked the state was, wouldn't it be great to put a structure on there so we can clean it? Because I'm sure stuff's gonna get caught against the main. It probably happens, it's happened for years. This spring, before we went back and talked to DOT again, we actually got a red flyer wagon, got stuck on our main, and it was backing up onto, which actually ends up backing up to East Street. So, Public Works went in there, cleaned it out. I took pictures, sent it to Dave Allen at DOT, and I said, look, we've got to do something, because Public Works, at least if we had a way to access it, Public Works could get in there and clean it out and maintain it. So they have agreed to allow us to put in a slab with a riser. We're gonna span the granite box culvert, we're gonna do it right over where my main goes through, so if the Public Works or if anything happens, Public Works, just get down there and clear the debris to let the flow go through. So that's what that one is. Again, not a planned expense, but it's a necessary item, I think. So I think from my standpoint, I guess the thing that I want to talk to the council about, and it relates to the budget, is we got options here. So the option right now is if I did this work, you take, South Alpine out now, right at this point, add in the Oak Street work we're doing, and these two items, you're looking at around 268, almost $270,000. If we roll that up here and pull South Alpine down, we're probably gonna be a few $100,000 under budget, but South Alpine wouldn't be done. So, to me, we've got two options. I had also, at the same time he gave me a price on this, I asked him to give me a price on South Alpine. He gave us a better price on this if he does both, economy of scale. If he does one, this number would go up, I think it was like $30,000 or $40,000, because he's chasing the old thing. So, so the questions or like, I guess the considerations I have that I wanted to bring to the council for you folks to consider and hopefully vote on. We have, three different options as I see them. Option number one, and this all ties to the budget, so I'll get back to the budget in a minute. Option number one is we just do Oak Street, leave South Alpine Street for another year. And take the 200 or 100 and some odd $1,000 left and do whatever little bit we can, in town, maybe lining some pipes, things like that. And call it a day. That's option one. Option two, we complete the Oak Street. We complete what we can on South Alpine Street with a couple $100,000. We've already obligated out of that, couple $100,000, we've already obligated $100,000 as part of the project already. We would just do whatever we got budget for in South Alpine Street, knowing we're gonna have to replace the rest of it at some point, but kind of kick the can down the road a little bit. Option three would be we complete Oak Street, complete our work, and we complete South Alpine Street based upon the numbers he'd given us. But we would have to pull reserves in to do that. And what I have down here is this, if we did everything, you're looking at $200,000, we would have to pull in addition to the 100,000 we already have. If we go with either option two or three, on the budget, you can get back to the budget, Kelly. On the budget, we had planned on some of the work at the pump station, helping to fund some of the budget. So obviously, if we're using it all for Oak Street and South Alpine Street, I don't have that available anymore. So what we would have to do is we would have to either push off the main pump station work or hope for really dry weather and our flows of water we're sending to Waterville is much reduced. So we see less expense, and then maybe I can at a later point in the year, maybe next spring, roll those things back in if we can afford them. So throwing a lot at you, but basically, I guess what it boils down to is, one of the things I wanted to show, one of the other aspects that I think that would be good information for you, talk about the contractor's pricing in your packet that we sent you. We sent you the pictures and everything, but we also sent you, I did a little analysis of what he gave us for pricing and what it meant as far as, the original bid prices that we received from other contractors, from his contract. So under the contract, once we change, like a substantial change, like adding in Oak Street, the contract says both parties, can negotiate those prices. So with the Oak Street run, he was installing right up the old main. Means he's pumping around, he's dealing with everything coming at him, so his price did go up. As you can see here, his original corporate price was $139, it was actually $210 a foot. With the negotiated price, which is a pretty reasonable price still. So this is for the Oak Street run, just taking his bid prices, he kept paving the same. I kind of prorated from his original, bid based upon the cost of each portion of the project, but the original bid had much more pipe to it. This one obviously only had, what was it, 851 feet. So I tried to get a representation so you knew about what it would be if he used his original prices and what it is actually, you know, with what he's looking at for that work. Then the next one, I also broke down some costs for, this was from the May 23rd, 2023 bid. Mantor was second bidder. If we use the same footage, using their numbers, which may or may not be, maybe more, maybe less, who knows? I'm guessing it would be more this time of year. Mantor would have been around 238,000, pretty close to what he charged us. Gordon, which was third bidder, was 323,000. So a little more expensive, but I felt it was a reasonable cost, knowing what he had to deal with. So that's Oak Street. I just wanted to show you that in relation to what he did. Then we look at South Alpine Street. So this one, he actually reduced his per foot price. It is 8-inch versus 10-inch, but there's not a lot of difference in installation. Instead of 220, it's down to 160. It is a little bit more than 137.50 that he had from his bid last year, almost 14 months ago. 6-inch sewer pipe, the same, precast manholes, each one basically about the same. Everything else, he held his price, other than, actually, he reduced the price on his, S pits. And, slightly increased his price on this might have been an adjusted factor. Yeah, that's the adjustment for less footage compared to the original. So basically, his original bid, we used the original bid prices, would have been around 410,000. He's looking for 453,000. The next sheet after that, I put Mantor's pricing in, did the same approach I took on Oak Street going through. Mantor's price for that same project, using their last year's numbers, 14 months ago, was 506,127. Gordon was 664,000, so that is a, 50, I think. I don't remember what the original one was. Yeah, almost $50,000 savings for South Alpine Street if we had him do it versus what Mantor would have charged if we were using his pricing. So he's given us a pretty good price on South Alpine Street. Again, it's a quantity thing. He had to deal with more on Oak Street with the groundwater and chasing the old main. This is a pretty good price. So my recommendation, I guess, to the council, obviously we will do whatever you direct. My recommendation is based upon knowing that South Alpine is a bad run, knowing we have to do Oak Street. I would suggest we pull some money out of reserves and get all this done this summer. It would mean change ordering in this amount into his contract over and above what he originally had, but I honestly don't believe if I put this out to bid, even this winter, there's no guarantee I'm gonna get that price, I may, but it's a risk. So we have 3 options. I'm okay with whatever option you folks choose to go with. I think the best bang for the buck would be get it all done this year and put it to bed. The ARPA money will be spent, which we have an obligation to spend that by not this December, but in December after. And then after that's done, we take a breath, see what kind of benefits spending that $1.4 million has given us into the system, and then kind of regroup and kind of move forward from there. So,
Gordon,
yeah,
I didn't see that slide in this package. You had it, I think you showed it last time you spoke about what this surface water does to us on a wet time? You had your chart
Yes.
and how many gallons of pure water were pumped in the water, or what it was costing us? I can't remember the figures, but it was pretty substantial.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, we're spending about 100,000 a year, as I remember, a little stronger than 100,000 a year in excess. I call it clean water flow.
Between water.
It's non-revenue water. It's money that's not going through a water meter that customers are having to pay to ship that to water. So anything we can do to reduce that, that's just an added benefit from what we're talking about, so that's really no way I can put a number on that, other than we got so many old clay pipes. The more we replace, the less infiltration is going to be, the less we're gonna send to water bills. But like I said, the last meeting too, it's not all from our pipes, it's from some pumps, it's from customer services, so there are multiple areas that is coming into, not just our mains, so.
Is there any more ARPA funds left?
I think we use them, there are right now, we're using the federal ARPA money right now to pay for, we're using them right
There's
now.
nothing that we had allotted and then it was left over.
Just so you know, I don't think anything's gonna come of it, but I've actually talked to the people that are administering the county project, they're an accounting firm, I can't think of the name right now.
Very done.
Yeah, we originally applied for 580,000 and they gave us 500,000. So I wanted to get it on record saying that, hey, we've had an increase, the original budget I showed of 70,000 more than we had planned. We'd love for you to give us the 580,000 that we originally asked for, or if you've got money that other towns can't use because their projects fell apart, we have plenty of places for that money. So I have put that request in. I don't think anything's gonna come of it, but it can't hurt to ask, so.
You could also ask about hazard mitigation funds too. That's an option.
I'm not familiar with those, yes, so.
It's worth a question, either the county or FEMA, or there's grants out there or funds out there through FEMA that if you can do something to mitigate an issue coming up in the future, like we've had to deal with past storms, they're all about that, so that they're not spending that money down the road, they'll spend it ahead of time.
We tried to make the pitch to FEMA with, that storm. We've been working with, the fire department and the FEMA rep here for this area. We tried to get them to pay for the generator work in the South Alpine Street. Because of the discharge, we said, look, it's an environmental hazard, all that water, and we got a very leaky system, and it just inundated our pump station. If we had a generator and it failed, they would have paid for that, but they wouldn't pay for just the upgrades. But there are some grants available. There's I think it's called Northern Gate, something that a lot of people are going after grant money for infrastructure projects on. That's an option to also.
And our bonus is that we are actually in process, it's not even a shelf plan, it's a plan in motion.
Yes.
A lot of times they'll put people who have the money and have no plan on the desk, like this is what we do.
Right. We got DEP as well, but generally DEP, if you go to them, they want you to increase your rates to be 2% of the median household income. And I don't know where we're at on that, because we haven't really had a rate study done. Our income's fairly high because of the lakes, right? So our user charge would have to be bumped up, so they would require us to borrow money typically before they would give us grant, DEP, but. There are options out there. Like I said, we can do any of the options. My gut feeling is that the biggest bang for our buck is to pull out of our reserve and pay for this. Which is basically paying for Oak Street, because I hadn't planned on it, but, we can also finish Oak Street and hold off on South Alpine and try to apply for additional grants or things like that. So there are, we can do that as well. It's not a, if we do this, something bad's gonna happen. It just means we spend a little more time trying to find more money. So
I'm all for options for you.
I had one question. first.
Yes.
Once you get South Alpine Street, we still have more old clay pipe, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
So if you did get some more money, you've still got projects that you could do with it.
So we've got there's several balls and, you know, there's several things going. Yeah, I've got plenty of places we could spend money. If we could
Okay.
find grant money, we could use multiple millions of dollars and we wouldn't have all our clay pipes replaced, you know? So we got places for other grant money. We are gonna apply, at some point here in the next year. We're gonna come to the council and start talking about a concept plan for Water Street. Trying to, DOT has done an inspection on the storm drainage system. I think I talked about this a couple meetings ago. The storm drainage system is gone. So it's their system, but they want us to apply for a grant. We would have to administer the grant, but they basically want to cut us a check. Say, you guys fix the drainage and we'll cut you a check. I don't know if it's a percentage, you know, I don't know if it's 90-10 or something like that.
We would take that. They would take that.
So if we're doing, the water company's going in, starting in August, we were just informed last week, and they're gonna replace from the post office all the way past Haymarket Square down, whatever that little stop begins in R.
Rudder.
Rudder. They weren't really planning on doing Water Street, but they got some money, but Scarborough couldn't spend it fast enough for their organization, so they decided to fund that one. So they've actually jumped on that. They're gonna start that construction this August. We got old clay pipe on Water Street, so if we're gonna redo the road at DOT's expense, replace the storm drain. Do we line the clay? You know, lining's okay, like I talked about the other day, but we got some decisions to talk about on Water Street. And that may be a place where I could go up to like the Northern Grant or something like that, deep. We would just start pulling it together, but that's kind of a long-winded way of saying, yes, we've got all kinds of needs.
So option 3, go as far as you can on South Alpine Street with your reserve money, right?
Option 2 would be that. We would basically do Oak Street, go as far as we can, which maybe it's halfway up on Oak Street, and then we would just stop when we're out of money.
Out of
Out of money and out of our,
reserve.
because we were already giving 100,000 of our reserves. That was part of the county match.
Yeah.
So once we're done, the ARPA money, our 100,000, wherever that gets us, we would stop on South Alpine Street and we would stand pat. We would still have the 575,000 in our accounts, but we would stop it there. But option 3 would be pulling whatever we need, several $100,000 out of our reserves to finish everything 100%. Option 1 is still spend our 100,000 on the project, whatever's left with the ARPA money and our original $100,000 contribution, we would find some lines, to line or small sections of pipe to replace, but it wouldn't be a large investment like
I
that.
guess I agree with Dave. I think we ought to use our money and go as far as we can because we're paying for a lot of clean water. I'd make a motion, we do option 3.
Motion is made to do option 3, which is doing it all, getting it done, is that correct?
That's correct.
Do I have a second? Second by Dave, all in favor?
Okay, so going back to the budget, right there. So from my standpoint, based upon the fact that we're doing that, what we just talked about, 30,000 is gone. I think what we should do is, eliminate that from the budget, which will bring us down to 618,438. And on the next sheet up, we would pull that 30,000 out of the main pump station repairs and see what happens in the spring. We'll hold off on that. We'll see what happens in the spring. If this number here is more like it used to be, you know, in the 120, 130 range, we could roll those projects back in. But that would at least get us back down to 618. So. Getting back to the budget too, so we have really, now that we've dealt with the construction, the project construction, now we look at, so if we back that out, we're still 618,000 on the revenue side again, Kelly. But remember, this number for the sewer billing included 5% increase. So we still have two options on that. We could reduce, we have to reduce the 30,000 I just mentioned, because we don't have the ARPA money anymore. So the two options are, we scale this back to, no rate increase. And we kind of see where things shake out. If we are short, we pull a little bit of money out of reserves to pay for that. And we're fine, or we go for the 5% rate increase. Get that in this year, do our assessment over the year. Hopefully, we're seeing some pretty good benefits from all this work, this $1.5 million of work we've done. And then, talk about the future as far as starting to put money back into the system and how that is gonna fit in with our budgetary needs, so we've still got those two original budget questions. 5% rate increase or not, and that's the case whether we have the ARPA money in there or not. So I think that's really the question at this point for the council to. Yes,
So just so I'm clear, the difference between an increase bringing in 579,000, and no increase is the 531? Is that what?
I actually used this number.
So the additional, the total income increase to us from going up 5% is how much? The
Is
difference between,
about $27,000 for the year. This number, we had one quarter that we think might have been a metering issue. We actually are short, I think it was like $8,000 or $9,000 revenue from what we would normally be. So Kelly and Jan chased that down with the water company. So this is kind of an anomaly. I don't think this is like a normal thing. I think we'll get, you look at these numbers, 540, 551. We have budgeted 552, I think if we did nothing, should be around the $552,000 number. Thank you.
so I'm, to restate my point from the last meeting, when I rained on Boyd's parade.
You didn't rain on my parade, by the way.
As long as we don't need the money and we're comfortable with the surplus. Or the reserve. I'm of the opinion we don't increase the fees this year. And I've seen nothing that's changed my mind. I understand that we're gonna spend a little more money, we're gonna draw it down, but we're not gonna draw it down to the point in the past where we're dangerously low.
No,
And we can change things next year. And if we need to go up 6% next year because we didn't go up 5% this year, I'm happy to try to explain that to the ratepayers.
yeah, and that would be, worst case scenario, that would be what would happen potentially, right? Let's say we are short and be like, you know what, we really, at the end of next year, we come back and say, well, in the end, we are short X number of dollars, and maybe it might be a slightly more increase down the road than it would have been had we gone 5% now. That's,
And maybe the economy is better in a year or two.
and we pick up,
Maybe people won't feel the increases.
right?
Anyway,
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Yeah, no, there are two viable options. I guess it's whichever the council wants to go.
How much do we have in reserve?
We have 575,000 and change, with the project. That'll get it down probably to 300 to 320,000. We have to We have a one-time payment every July of $138,000 for the loan. We have to cut that out. So that's when we ran into the issue 2015, when they paid that $138,000, they had like $9,900 left. So we're not anywhere near that, and we won't be even if we keep the rates right where they're at. So just trying to plan for the future. That's what I'm trying to
So
do.
$27,000 increase for the year is not gonna make much of a difference.
Not in the, where we want to go, where I think we should go eventually, which is being proactive and putting money into our system. So this is, all this is just to maintain. It's not adding, it's not replacing pipe in our system. That's just to maintain and to fix and clean the camera pipes, clean pipes, whatever normal maintenance we need to do. So this, yeah, this isn't even looking at reinvesting. So.
I guess my view, I'm a ratepayer. Our infrastructure is horrible, as we know, and we're not gonna get ahead anywhere unless we start investing in it some way to change it. So I'm not against the increase.
Dan? I agree with Bob, for that small amount of money, I think we'll wait, because it's a little late this year to do a rate increase and have time to have a public meeting and warn the public that's paying right. We're a little behind the date here, so I think we'd be better off to do it next year when we can do it ahead of time, and the public that's paying will know what's coming.
Yes.
Thank you. But, so what you wanna do? But that's, I agree with that.
Well, to get us off this dime, I move that we keep the rate the same next year.
I agree with that. Motion is made to keep the rates where they are the same. We have a motion, we have a second by Dana, all in favor? Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Boy, before you sit down, the last meeting, we talked about the main pump station. You proposed some work on a valve pump pit to resolve the safety and remote control issues. And I got reading this over afterwards, and you said you go in there to do some quick little adjustment once in a while or something.
So what happens is, our influent tanks are cascading. So like we fill one up, when we get these big rain events, fills one up. That, when that overflows, it dumps to the next one and the next one. So in order to use the cascading, I have to have a valve shut so that it doesn't just pass through one to get to the other, that it actually uses the storage in each one. What happens is, when I am trying to pump those out, I have to open that valve, and there's no way to do it other than me going in that pit. And sometimes I've done it, I shouldn't say this one on the record, but yeah, no, I haven't had to swim, but I have gone in there by myself in the middle of the night.
You should never do that again. That's
I
a
know,
confined space.
I'm sure OSHA, if they
They
ever heard
don't
this.
allow you to go into a confined space alone. We
Right.
got help here for you. You know, Public Works, Chief Stubbit has people on 24 hours, the fire department does. Don't go into a
Well,
confined space
it's, and
alone.
then, yeah, that's on me, and
I can get out of bed and come down and watch if you want me to. But don't do that.
I appreciate that. No,
Fire department is
that's,
confined space trained, so.
Yeah, right.
what's that?
Fire department is confined space trained.
Right. Yeah, so it's not one to bother somebody in the middle of the night. That's
I
all,
know,
you know what I mean? So,
You're
but
the Public Works guy, you'd have a Public Works guy.
I do,
on
Bob
there.
Matthews, yeah,
I would say,
yeah.
call them no matter what time it is and give them a call out. Because that's that's what you do during the day. It's only fair that they should get it at night. So
We've already instituted that. So the last time, I think it was a big storm. I don't remember if it was April. That's when it kind of, you just kind of hit home with you. You're down in the pit and I'm like, I don't think this is such a great idea after all. So, now I told Bob, nobody goes down unless there's
probably
somebody else.
ended up Kelly getting fired if OSHA heard about it. So. we don't
Well,
want that to
yeah.
happen.
Hopefully, maybe they can edit the video. Right? So,
Because she knows it now.
okay, well, anyway.
Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, yeah. No, I won't do that I won't do that anymore. So.
Okay.
Next item up is the appointment of the wood committees.
Thank you.
Believe a letter's been sent around.
I'd make the motion, we accept this list of town council appointments.
Motion made, second by Bob, all in favor? Thank you. Next one is, 1113 Kendall Royal Drive, warrant review.
So last meeting, we spoke about, the house on the corner, and we all agreed that we would go through special town meeting, hold public hearing first, then special town meeting. So I drafted up a warrant article. I would like to get the budget advisory committee and the council back together to have an official vote with the warrant. I just drew in some dates, they're not set in stone. I would like to do the the budget advisory and council meeting on Monday, July 15th. Public hearing on July 23rd. Or 22nd, one of those, Monday or Tuesday, and then have the special town meeting held here at the fire station on July 31st. I'm not sure what legally we have to give them time to get out, if this does pass, it's 30, 60, 90 days, I'm not sure. So there's some planning and I wanna. It'd be nice to button it up before winter.
I'd make a motion, we have Kelly proceed with their plan and schedule some dates. Get it underway, see what the public thinks.
Motion made, second. All in favor? Thank you. And the next one up is Kelly, and I want to talk about cemetery trust funds.
Yes, so currently. AJ sent me some pictures. We have 8 or 9 trees in Lakeview Cemetery that are dead, diseased, or dying or damaged. We have a quote for $10,000, but if he does them all at the same time, he'll knock 500 off. So it's $9,500. Currently, we have cemetery trust fund that was established years ago and then turned over to the town to administer, and it's for upkeep and maintenance of our cemeteries. I've been here 5.5 years, we've never taken money out of it. 50% of our plot sales a year, every year go into that fund when we do the audit. So there's money to do this. I'll show you some of these trees. This one was actually done, more recently, I think it was the April storm. The fire department actually had to go over there, like, Public Works went over there at like 4:30. There was just branches everywhere. They cleaned that up. This one's a big one, there's a lot of rot in the middle. They think there might be a raccoon living in there, but they're not sure. You can see right here, there's more. That might be the home, actually. And then another one, just, these are massive trees, they're very old and very brittle. This one is a leaner, it's leaning, and if it does fall, it will take out some stones. This one has lost a lot of branches. Again, I think the woodpecker likes this one. AJ said, yeah, woodpecker damage. This one lost many limbs over the past few storms, as he said, December, January, and April storms, there were limbs everywhere, so we would like to take that one as well. This one is pretty much dead and leaning. I did check with code, and due to shoreline zone, we wouldn't be able to take that, because it is dead. And it's dangerous.
Have you got a quote yet on these?
We did $9,500, if we let the guy do them all at once, which I think we should do. And then this one is dead beside the boat landing is over here in the parking lot on the other side of the fence. And this one was just dead, so.
Can we take that one down? We haven't cut down the other ones. Sounds easy.
Right.
I'd make a motion, we get at it, and clean them up before they break a bunch of stones off.
And use cemetery trust
Use
funds.
those trust funds,
Okay.
that's what they were built for.
Yeah, it is.
Motion's been made, do we have a second? Mr. Nutting, second, all in favor? Next item is talk about lease purchase.
Yep, so our lease purchase that we threw into the budget this past year. I sent out to 5 banks, had 4 reply, 1 backed out, because they wanted, bond counsel, like a letter from our lawyer. Which he told me that on Monday, so it's too late, I said, well, we can't do that, so thank you very much. Andrew Spaulding Bank, they have a governmental banking, division, they gave us 2 options. The first one, and this is gonna pay for our vehicles and the guns and the shields that we put in the budget. 5.95% for 3 years, about 20,000 in interest. They said we'd get a lower interest rate if we deposit $50,000 of our money into a CD. Right now, it's paying 5.25, so I think over the 3 years, every 3 months, if rates stay how they are, we could make almost the amount in interest. So that's kind of where he was going with that. Then year 2 would be $123,000 payment, and year 2, and then year 3 would be $125,000 as well. Option B is not doing the deposit, 6.15%, about 21,000 in interest. $500 more in payments over the 2 years. Then municipal leasing consultants, 5.69%, about $19,800 in interest. And their payments are a little bit lower. I have worked with them before at the school. On their lease, on the school's lease purchases, when I was there, I'm gonna recommend we go with municipal leasing consultants. For our loan.
I'm good. I make a motion to, give a recommendation, follow the money from them. Motion is made to follow Kelly's recommendation, and motion, we have a second, all in favor? Thank you.
One more other business I have, Fidium Fiber, chief, fire chief, police chief and I all met, and Boyd met with Fidium Fiber on Monday or Monday. They're gonna be starting running fiber into town and pretty much every road in Oakland. They just wanted to give us a heads up that there's gonna be some construction. And they don't shut down roads, but they have flaggers and stuff, so we put a notice out on our website and Facebook that expect delays again, so, but it'll be all worth it. They're gonna start in town and they'll work their way out. Cause I'm like, get downtown done before school starts. So, that's the plan.
Mr. Carter, do you have anything?
I do not.
Mr. Nutter?
I do not.
Mr. Walter? At this time, I'd like to make a motion, we go into executive session on the personal matters of one.
Someone back there.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I get some feedback on the library thing that I emailed you guys, besides Mr. Nutting? He's the only one that even acknowledged that I had emailed him. Besides-
I apologize, I cannot hear what you said.
I was wondering if I could get some feedback on the library. I had asked for $2,500 so that they could finish the summer enrichment program they do on Wednesdays. They had applied for a grant, but as we know, I think they misunderstood that the grant would take a while to pay those people that are doing the projects. So they need like $2,500 to finish out the enrichment program for the summer. I just thought it was a good idea because it gets kids back into the library, keeps them on the electronics, and they're doing art classes, so it was a fantastic thing, but then it kind of fizzled out because of the fact that everybody thought it had ended. So I was just hoping that I could get some feedback on that, if you guys could approve that funding for the library to continue for the kids for the summer.
And where would they, Bob, go ahead, please.
So I got,
Yes,
it
yes.
was, text message or email.
Email,
I
yeah.
got your email, my brandy new email address.
And
And
I did get your.
my response was that she should check with the librarian and or the town manager. You then responded and said that you had asked the librarian and she declined to do that.
No, she,
And
She didn't feel comfortable
as
asking.
far as I'm concerned, that's the end. We only have one librarian. If she wants to come present a case to do that, evidently she doesn't.
well, she said she wanted to. I
Well,
just think.
I can talk to her, because they have money, other monies outside of what is the operating budget, so. I'll talk to her and see. Where, yeah.
so, I'm not opposed. I don't really know a lot about it. I just think that the procedure, you have to go through the chain of command.
Right, and I spoke to him again tonight, and I told him that I would come and, you
Yeah,
know,
That's
on
fine.
their behalf again, so.
So at this time, I'd like to enter into, under personal matters into executive session. The time now is 6:55. It'll be under one MRSA for section 4056A. To all you folks who have come tonight, we thank you for your time. Motion's been made. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Holmes.
Yeah.